As you know by now, that the Reserve Bank governor did not make any changes in the repo rates, which Financial Express certainly was plugging for a 25 basis rate cut, and I think it's unfortunate for a variety of reasons. That that one, as we know, that the Indian economy is still, in fact even the RBI says the Indian economy is still work in progress. So you have very, very patchy demand right now. You've had a couple of sectors which have shown good demand, automobiles for example, but they're very stray examples. And we had Hero Motors results where you found the top line actually coming down. So the economy is patchy, and I think what's more worrying is that for some reason, in fact the RBI's policy doesn't seem to reflect it, is that you have a very serious possibility of global deflation happening. So that itself is also going to put pressure on inflation. So I'm a bit surprised, frankly, that the RBI governor has not cut rates. Perhaps the reason is that he's obviously been quite concerned about the step up in inflation in June, and more important, I think if you look at the Met projections that came yesterday, and they're still sticking to their 12% deficit monsoon, which basically means a drought for all practical purposes. So with the Met talking about a drought, I think he's probably chosen to be on the safe side. But I think one thing is pretty clear, that most analysts are of the view that there is space for a 25 to 50 basis point cut. Now whether he's not made it today, so whether he makes it in October or whether he makes it somewhere in the middle of the policy or later, I think most people are agreed that there will be a cut. So I think that's good. The interesting thing there were two other interesting things about today's policy. One, if you take, there's been a lot of talk between the RBI and the Finance Ministry over the last few weeks about increasing the amount of debt that the foreign institutional investors can invest in. So the governor talked about that, and based on what he said, it seemed that you would get another $5 to $6 billion increase in that cap, which, I mean, if you just forget about the technical terms of how that cap is going to be determined or things like that, what it means is that there will be that much more of FII investment coming into the country in government bonds, which is a good thing. And the third and the most important thing is that while the governor was quite reticent on his views on the Monetary Policy Committee, which, as you know, has been the focus of a lot of discussion over the last few weeks, in fact, and last couple of days in particular. But the governor made it very clear. He said two things. One, he reiterated what the Finance Secretary had said yesterday, that the RBI and the Government of India have reached a sort of finality on what the monetary policy will look like. That was a very sort of neutral kind of statement. Then the governor sort of gave away his mind by saying two things. One, he said that if you look at the current situation right now, the governor has a veto, because the governor at the end of the day decides whether he wants to accept the advice given to him or not. Secondly, he referred to an article written by P. Chidambaram. He said a former finance minister. So this is an article written by P. Chidambaram in the Financial Express, where what Mr. Chidambaram really said was that why don't we have a 6-member monetary policy committee, 3 from the RBI, 3 from the government, and in case there is a tie, give the RBI governor the casting vote. I mean, at the end of the day, if you want the RBI governor to be held responsible for sticking to inflation targets, you have to give him that power. So I think this is the first time that we've seen a signal from the governor as to what his views, a public signal from the governor on what his views are on the Monetary Policy Committee's structure. And based on what he said and based on what the Finance Secretary said yesterday, it seems to be that the government has reached a sort of agreement with the RBI on that. So I think that's good news.